Are you involved with cleaning or maintaining floors, especially hard floors? If so, you might have come across some serious issues with porcelain floor cleaning. If you've not come across those issues, according to the experts, it's probably coming your way and you want to stay out of trouble. Today, we have two industry experts with us who are going to help you to address the issue and to deal with it in an ongoing way. We have Mark Saiger with Saiger Steam Clean in Minnesota, and we have Mike Pailliotet, who's the founder of Mikey's Board, a popular online hangout, and many of you might have spent some time there. Hello, Mike and Mark. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Morning, Jeff.
So we have an issue, it sounds like, with porcelain floors. You know, I'm not a hard floor expert. I think my cats know more about hard floors than I do. They're closer to it. But Mike, you started the topic with a post on your own online forum. Tell us about that. What trouble have you stirred up?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Stirred up, because it's I don't know. It's challenging because a lot of people don't seem to want to talk about this. People at the higher ends of the industry. So Mark and I have taken upon ourselves to get the word out in every way we can. And we greatly appreciate you willing to interview us on this, because so far the other folks in the industry at your level, we'll say, have been kind of ignoring us, which is frustrating. But I think I first ran into this problem firsthand about, what was that, Mark, about 3 years ago?
3 years ago when you contacted me, yeah.
And it was when Mark's hard surface cleaner came out. And I was cleaning up, a fairly new porcelain tile. And when I rinsed it with just water, it dried up real splotchy. And none of the splotches in Mark's had anything to do with how I applied the product, with a flat mop, or how I rinsed it with the turbo spinner. And typically, when you're dealing with a sensitive floor, you're going to see some sign that you're creating that problem with the round pattern of the 12-inch spinner head, or if you use the hard surface wand, the forward jets are going to line up. You're going to see something that you go like, oh boy, I created that. But these were such random marks that luckily it was an empty home. So me being me, I went to recreate the problem and used a different high pH product, Ultra Pack Extreme, and was able to create a whole different series of these Rorschach looking marks. So then once I knew it wasn't Mark's product, because he was just in the development stages of that, I believe. I wanted to make sure Mark wasn't creating something here that was eating up tile floors. So that's why I tested another product. That's when on this one, I lucked out and was able to just spray an all fiber rinse, pH 4.5, and kind of aggressively mop it in and make it all go away. And we'll see pictures of that particular floor at the end of this thing. And since then, I've seen it once or more times, myself. But as I started talking about it, and I put a video up of that floor on YouTube, you can find that video and you can see a lot of people comment about experiencing that themselves. And within the last, what's it been, Mark, 6 months or so?
Yes.
As these 3-year-old floors, and as we look back, it really started about 3 years ago. And this is kind of an international thing. This isn't just in Gardnerville, Nevada by any means. Mark and I, due to our position in the industry, we just started getting more and more calls and texts and YouTube comments and all that sort of thing, to where now it's, almost a day doesn't go by where one of us doesn't hear about it. And we've started to do some research. We went to, the big box stores and flooring stores, and picked up God knows how many tiles, and are easily able to recreate this problem by exposing the tiles to high alkaline cleaners. And the more we go over it, the worse they get. But I'm going to end up rambling through this whole thing if you don't stop me and move on to Mr. Saiger there.
Well, I will say that I'm glad it wasn't Mark's product that caused the issue. Mark's too nice of a guy to take that kind of heat.
Oh yeah, I was sweating it for him.
Well, Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you saw as well, in addition to what Mike just shared with us?
Sure. Yeah. Of course, the concern is we make a product, we try to test it. And so when you get calls, we weren't quite sure what was going on. You're thinking, is there some type of residue? They didn't rinse it off properly, because we're seeing watermarks, streaking, kind of like, it looks like a residue issue bonding into let's say that kind of fake surface that they have on it. But And so then, Mike came up with using an acid type rinse on it. Then we also tried cleaning with lower pH. We started seeing it with lower pHs too. So the suspect is wear and tear on the floor, homeowners cleaning it, environmental, lights, things like that. You're starting to see the finish on the floor, which porcelain should be like really durable. We start seeing this issue happening. Now, I kind of call it like a zombie issue coming along, and us as a cleaner, we come in a little higher power, a little more pH, a little more heat and stuff, and we expose what is going on there. So it's not like the cleaner or, cleaning products have caused this issue, but it's over time that we as a cleaner coming in will now expose the situation. So Mike has indicated we've gone up and bought tons of tiles and different things, trying to test in our own facilities, shops and stuff. And we've also been finding out that even lower pHs, I'm not talking down on the acid side, but, like 10 and below, we started getting then, thinking that's what we need to do. We started getting calls on that was still a problem too. So, and we just don't have an exact answer why, but myself personally, I think it's time, environmental, the homeowners cleaning, wear and tear in traffic, and us as a cleaner get blindsided. So we're trying to get that word out.
Okay. From your comments, it sounds like it's mainly a residential issue, but are we seeing this in commercial buildings too?
Yes, we are seeing some commercial, not as often, but there are some commercial, especially car dealerships. I've been seeing that in car dealerships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's continue this conversation with some images, and I'll put those up, and let's just go through some of the things you two have been seeing. So this first image we're looking at, Mike, this is where the issue was first discussed on Mikey's board.
I would say first discussed at the development and research forum. I mean, we've been talking about this problem for, a couple of years since that first one I ran into, but this, you can see it's, there's a 3-page discussion now. And probably more importantly, there is a disclosure form I had a technical writer help me come up with. But anyways, yeah, if you go to Mikey's board, you go to the clean room. This is a pinned or stickied conversation. And if you go to the 3rd page, you'll find that disclosure form, which I highly recommend you put on your blogs and be prepared to send out to your customers when they call in with these sort of floors, or have your technicians or you, the cleaner, have a link or have this printed out to explain what's going on.
Well, it's a good resource to offer, so folks know where to get that. We have 8 images to share and discuss. So let's go through these, and you gentlemen can talk about what we're seeing. This first one looks like it's in a doorway.
Yeah, that's that original time I ran into it. And that was, one thing that we haven't mentioned so far is that it seems to happen mostly where the high alkaline cleaner is allowed to dry before it gets rinsed. And this being by a doorway out here in, very arid northern Nevada, it's 3 years ago, so I don't exactly remember, but I would guess that area dried because I know I was doing a large amount of tile and grout. But I do remember other areas in the house where it happened. But if you're allowing the cleaner to dry, it's far more likely to occur, but that's not always the case. But work in smaller areas on porcelain for sure. I wouldn't do over 100 feet anymore, but I probably pre-sprayed 500 feet or so on this project. And
we also tested, just to interrupt, we also tested that with this drying procedure on new tiles. It didn't always affect it, but the second and third time that we tried that and it was wiping off, second, third time it started to affect it, where then we started seeing this. So the durability of that tile, again, in homeowners, maybe when working on a cleaning and stuff, is taking a layer off. We come in more high powered, then it starts this splotchiness, but it won't do it right away when new. So even you as a carpet cleaner, say out there cleaning it, could have been successful the first time. Second time, you're not going to be as successful, and you run into this splotchiness that could happen, or water pooling, or marks that get embedded in whatever that coating is we feel it is.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good advice about the contact time, the dwell time. Don't let it dry out. That's a basic cleaning piece of advice, I guess.
Listen, this is a whole different kettle of fish here as far as porcelain, but you see on the left, can you see the marks from the turbo, the round marks?
Now that you mentioned it, yes.
Yeah, this is actually a porous porcelain that's showing up more and more. And once you pour down your cleaner, mop it in, it starts to actually absorb up, which is extremely unusual for a porcelain. I mean, whoever thought you could have porous porcelain? There's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
But this was another job where I pre-sprayed too much, and as it absorbed in, it no longer responded to the cleaning. I had to constantly reapply the cleaner, re-emulsify it, and go real slow with the turbo spinner there. And you can see on the right picture, the dramatic results. But I remember this job just because the customer had bought it so recently, and they were oversold on how durable and easy to clean it was going to be. And if you can imagine, I'm actually extracting, but the homeowners, all they have was a mop. And, they were doing the typical, recontamination process where you keep sticking the mop back in the dirty water, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And they just couldn't believe how hard it was, literally impossible for them to clean the floor without extraction equipment. But that's something else you got to take a look at. And I'm trying to see the porous-like texture, never mind the hair there. And the grout cleaned up beautifully, as you can see. But when you see it, it doesn't really convey in this picture all that much. But you'll see like little, almost pinholes in that porcelain. And just know, like all porcelains nowadays, don't try and clean more than 100 feet at a time.
Good advice. Yes. Mark, anything to add to this?
Yeah, I did have a friend in Florida have this same exact situation happen to him because, we network with other cleaners using our products, and that's some of the reasons we get the calls, but trying to find out. And he called me and let me know, and he was kind of panicked, but he caught it. He reapplied the product again, and then he used the CRB to agitate it to kind of keep it breaking up, did a smaller section, but he was a bit panicked as well, too. He was able to correct it, to satisfaction, but even the owner, the lady of the house asked, so everything going okay in there? Yes, ma'am. Just doing a little extra cleaning. So it's a panic mode. It really is. A skilled cleaner, even myself, when I see this, I'm like, oh no. And I haven't had it happen that often. I've only had it happen when I've been cleaning with some friends on job sites and have seen it happen.
Well, you're here to help cleaners know what to do. And should some of them walk away from these jobs?
If they're uncertain in their abilities and they don't have all the tools, they don't have the spinner if they're just using a wand. A lot of carpet cleaners don't want to invest in a spinner, and they just use the old gecko type wands, and it's not enough pressure to clean this type of stuff. But a lot of these new floors are using we'll call them the new high performance grout, which are no longer Portland cement based. They're resin and glass filled, and they don't need to be sealed, and they go down extremely even. I mean, they're wonderful grouts, but you're only going to see those within the last 2 years. And luckily, that's a whole positive on this whole thing, is that on these new floors, quite often you don't need these high alkaline cleaners because of that level of the stain resistancy in the grout. So don't assume that you need to go into every tile floor with these, pH 15 type concrete etching products. Start out mellow, start out with a neutral cleaner. Every carpet cleaner should have a neutral cleaner on board for various uses, but try and see if that works, because then you're going to stay out of trouble.
Which we're not sure if neutral cleaners are also going to cause this issue. Like in our case on porcelain.
More or less likely.
Yeah, we're cleaning at whenever we see it amongst our staff, we clean with a 9.5 pH cleaner, and we haven't run into problems yet. But we don't want to make a promise, because we had somebody call us from California that was using a 9.9 pH and had difficulties.
Who spilled something here?
That was part of my testing, and I don't know, I had 20 some odd planks down, and that was probably the fourth application of an alkaline cleaner where I would apply it, let it dry. Sometimes I'd apply over the whole tile. Sometimes I'd, just do this type of thing just so I could really see the effect. And then I would, acid rinse it, water rinse it, let it dry, buff it out, get it looking nice and even. And then, with every progressive application of the cleaner, alkaline cleaner, is doing different levels of damage. And this one was, pretty darn obvious. But I think what Mark was saying, that sometimes the neutral will look like it's causing a problem. We don't know what the customer's been doing to the floor, and by the time that we get there, the floor is so covered with a mop water residue and life's little messes that we could just be exposing the damage they they sprayed on there. Because I mean, as carpet cleaners, who hasn't seen, people using easy off oven cleaner and Clorox and pool acid and everything else. And when they're sold these, permanent, what do they call these floors, Mark? I mean, life proof. And
yeah,
they're so oversold
mm-hmm.
when they're not really traditional porcelain anymore. And,
yeah,
we're seeing the same thing with some of the LVPs, but that's a whole nother interview for that.
Hey, Mark, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If you went, so Mike created this issue, but let's say you go in after him, a customer wants you to fix this. Is that possible? Or is this permanent?
That's a difficult thing. You can maybe get it to a level of satisfaction. So like he was talking acid rinse, which he did on this, you maybe will have to go over it with a buffer, cotton pad or white pad, maybe neutral cleaner. Or we've also had some cases where they're using like our 4.7 rinse with water. Then there's even more extreme for like you're acting like stone polishing on top of a porcelain. So there's not just one fix for everything. And also Mikey alluded to, when we get these calls, we're trying to find out did you leave behind a residue? Is there some other situation? Was there a topical on the floor? Because somebody wanted to look pretty in wax. In one case, I have a manufacturing facility, and is there something in the air that's hanging, getting gooey? Because the product that we're using like for a sealer it doesn't have any cleanability, doesn't have any means of leaving any residue gooiness. So we try to analyze that. In this case here, this is some major damage. And Mike, I think, did testing on this, how to fix this, but it's a little intense. It's not a normal, easy thing for a carpet cleaner to do. But we would tell him, start with buffing, start with a neutral cleaner, start with maybe our rinse cleaner. Do you have a 175? Not everybody does. Flat mop, really keep your fingers crossed.
It's interesting how you both refer to the technicians as carpet cleaners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I guess that's what everyone is
floors that
to
we're
start
talking
with.
to. But yeah, there is a product that MB Stone is developing. They'll have it private label soon, and it's an Italian porcelain restoration cream. Because a lot of these tiles come out of Italy. They've been seeing this before us, and they know the problem exists. And it's a thick cream that needs to be underworked. We overworked it intentionally, and we're able to actually remove the glaze, and in a couple of cases, actually start removing the photograph. Remember, all these things are photographs to make it look like whatever, the granite, limestone, travertine, wood. And the same product, if overworked, if sat on too long with a hog's hair pad or some 3M pad under whether it's a handheld Makita or 175 or similar machine, you can go too far. So that's where the average carpet cleaner, especially a tech for a franchise, there's gonna be a learning curve, and they may be better off finding a very experienced stone restoration professional who knows how to go in there and analytically figure out just how long they need to spend per square foot or per tile with the buffer to get it off. And that's something that stone guys know how to do with experience. It's the same thing as polishing out scratches and etches and damage to calcium-based stones. There's a whole process to that, and figuring out the quickest, easiest way to get to it, and not always do all umpteen steps that some stones take. And
I think one question people might have is, what's the worst that could happen to a company? You think about this image here. If you did that in a 15 by 15 room, I assume that the worst that could happen is replacement.
Yeah.
And what would that cost?
Ripping out and reinstalling new floors, a minimum of $30. Was it $30 a yard? Does that sound right?
I can't remember.
That sounds cheap, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that was. I'm sure it's twice that now with the cost of everything, but that was the last time I kind of did the math, and we're just figure $50 a yard to rip out and replace tile,
and
or just put carpet back on it.
Yeah.
What about this image?
Same thing, it was freshly applied on the left there where it's still wet, and then just damage over a travertine looking porcelain. You can see the splotchiness there.
Okay. And this is the same issues, I bet.
Yeah, this was a real interesting tile, because the first two times I tested it, I couldn't bother it. And then third, fourth, and fifth time, I was able, you can see, I think 3, 4, 5 there, the different layers where I kept putting, partially covering the tile, and it just proceeded to get darker and darker. And at one point, I was able to actually scratch that tile, which you shouldn't be able to scratch porcelain with a screwdriver and handheld pressure. But I was able to actually scratch it and create all that. And with that cream, I was able to remove the scratches and make that tile look brand new.
I don't think we have that picture.
No, unfortunately.
Well, we'll believe you, Mike. We trust you.
I think it was in a video too that he was doing that.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Hey, Mark, so does it make you nervous knowing you have technicians out there working in the field and you're not holding their hand?
Yes, anytime. We don't want a negative event for any of our clients. And I know every carpet cleaner out there and let's say tile and grout cleaner and whatever, you don't want any of those negative experience for your clients. We're all, for the most part, caring people, wanting to do well. We're proud of our trade, proud of our work. But yeah, it makes me nervous because, it's not me doing the job in this case. So then my tech could get blamed for it. And then you got to defend your technician. And then in my case, I would have to explain to them, this could happen to me. This is, again, we're exposing something that's been taking place. Now, to get the homeowner to believe it, that's a difficult part. That's why we are trying in our cases to educate the person that this could happen. It's like the ticking in the feathers, the down feathers, they got fire retardants in upholstery. That's a zombie experience. And I think Jim Pemberton has articles and stuff on it too, but showing where it turns red from that fire retardant in the pillow. So I actually take and show a couple videos to my clients before when I find down feathers. Do you want me to proceed? It could look like this. I might not be able to correct it. So in this case with the porcelain tile, I use Mikey's video a lot. I just go, here's what could happen. Do you want us to proceed?
I believe this is someone's garage.
This is me. That's my testing where I was doing testing. Same as like Mikey was doing. I just had to take the kids for a walk prior, I think. I don't know. But
I thought that was your living room floor, Mark.
It should be. I'm going to be moved to the doghouse, I swear. Test rug up beyond. So, this is the messy shop at the time, but I've got lines and splits trying to analyze, and who knows how many test times we're in on it this time on the floor when I took the pictures. But tested like 5 times at least. And, first times, some of it great. Some of it on the first times, though, did have a problem. And I used other products and I used different pH levels. I used powders, I used liquids. And every time I was seeing it, it happens to all the products. Doesn't mean it's just powder because you want powder residue. It happens even with a liquid. It happens with a lower pH to a 0.2 with some other products. I had the best luck with my 9.5 pH powder, but I'm going to seriously be out there again this week and test those tiles and see how long it would take for a 9.5 say pH to do it. And then I'd also like to test what will the neutral cleaner do, which could take a lot longer, but kind of get some baseline.
This one you circled in a picture. Why is that?
Well, I have the one product, which is our higher pH off to the left with our Tsunami, and I have our 9.5 pH 10 below off to the right. And I think I'd sent this to Mikey saying, I'm getting the best luck with the 10 below here. Then I had some other pictures that didn't turn out great unless you get them in the right lighting and the position. So we were just sharing amongst ourselves what our experience were. Then Mike also took some of that and went, well, then I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And so he was also finding some of the same results, that the more you cleaned, the more you treated it, the more damage that was happening over time.
And the image on the right, the corner, is there a story there?
That particular tile had a faux finish on it to make it look like it was scratched. You can't quite make it out, but you can see all the lines in the darker areas.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really cool tile. I would consider put it in my house, in the man cave, bathroom, laundry room kind of thing. It's a little too busy for a large room. But that was a tile that when Brian Thompson, who's well-known hard surface guru, and we went to Phoenix and went to the Bonastre rep there. They have a whole different system for restoration. We tried all their products, unfortunately it didn't work. But when we were using that cream, the Italian cream, and some aggressive pads, we sat on that particular tile too long, meaning we over polished it to the point where we were able to remove the photograph. We got that deep, which just it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't be able to do that.
I'll just brought back an experience where I was cleaning. I have a person who was in Florida. He actually was a tile setter, installer, concrete guy too. And we were mentioning and talking about this. And he says, oh, I've known about this for a while. He says, if you were to take a real porcelain in one of these porcelains and break it or bust it in half, you'll actually see the difference in the middle, which I have not done that yet to try to find a real porcelain. Don't know if I can find one anymore. And then one of these, what they're manufacturing now, break it in pieces. And he says, you can see the difference in it when you do that. So I'm kind of shocked. There has been some evidence of it. I've shared like pictures and videos, also some cleaners last week, and said, oh my gosh, we had that happen last year. Remember that job? So it's been going on, but we all didn't know that it's more of this happening, except for all these calls starting to come to us.
Mm-hmm. So to wrap this up, if you're to give some verbal bullet points to those watching, what would they be? I assume one, you want to know what you're cleaning.
Yeah, you got to know. I mean, just like carpet, you got to be able to identify nylon from polyester from wool, right? Same thing with upholstery. You got to know your naturals from your synthetics. And now more than ever, I mean, do you guys remember when the turbo spinner first came out and everybody was getting into trouble, messing up stone floors? So they all said, oh, I'm only going to clean the man-mades. But now the man-mades are more dangerous to clean than the stones. Yeah. And, all the old glazed saltillos and all the things that, spinners and their high heat and high pressure would damage. So you really need to know how to identify porcelain from ceramic. And unfortunately, you need to figure out, what the age of the porcelain is. And if you don't know, just treat them all like they're, 2 years old, and you have the high likeliness of messing them up. Usually, with a little bit of research on the age of the home, or talking to the customer when they last their floor, that's the easy part to figure out. But spend time in tile stores and big box stores and see what they're selling and what's going to show up in the new developments if you're in the area. And that's the thing with Mark, is they're not building around Mark's area, whereas where I'm at, Northern Nevada, there's new complexes going up way too often, and we're seeing all these brand new products being put in. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of junk out there, unfortunately.
Yeah. And Mark, how about you? Anything to add? Some things you would want cleaners to know as they go out and do the work?
Like Mikey says, identify, make sure that you have an option for cleaning. If it's not that soiled, don't go nuclear on it. Change down to the degree, which is all the same. Mikey's always made a great comment about, people like to boost pre-sprays and stuff. And he always says, so do you salt your food before you test it, before you eat it? It's always been a great point. So, how severe do I have to go at that? Do I need to throw tons at it? But you'll be able to determine. But then also, if you do need to throw that at it, the higher pH, et cetera, and extreme cleaning, let your clients know. That's the first thing is communication, which we've all talked about that in every venue we do on our cleaning or a business. Communication. Make sure you communicate this.
Well, show them what you're able to achieve with a safe product, safe method. And most customers, most humans will be more than happy with that. People don't see it, especially because porcelain tiles are so busy that a little splotchiness in the grout doesn't show up. You don't see, solid colored porcelains. That's typically in the ceramic world. But again, with these new grouts, and they clean up wonderfully. You don't need to go extreme on your pH, but there's definitely been a shift, where people don't want to pre-scrub. They don't want to give it dwell time. They just want to spray down a concrete etcher level of pH 14, and then run the spinner over at 1500 to 2000 psi, get in and out. And that occurred because the pricing got so low as everybody got competitive. I don't know many people that are getting $2 a foot to clean tile anymore. But with all these new cleaners, you should be able to clean them very easily. And I could go into a whole Green Glides brush sale segment here if you'd like to. But I mean, that's the real reality, is that these floors are very easy to clean, and you can clean them with your carpet cleaning wand nowadays if you're well equipped.
Yeah. Well, cleaners may not be getting $2 a square foot for these floors anymore, but they'll be paying a lot more than that if there are issues.
You got to replace it. Yeah. So easy to clean if you just mop down, a well-formulated cleaner, like we used to say back in the day, and give it a little dwell time. And with the carpet wand, there's no reason you shouldn't be just charging what you clean carpet for, because as carpet disappears and it's only in the bedrooms, you better figure out how to clean the rest of the house for that same per square footage price. Otherwise, they're just not going to do it, or wait too long, and you do have to come in with your pH 14 stuff and potentially ruin the floor and spend far more time working on it. So it's kind of a retraining of the homeowner's mind. And that's something that probably needs to happen with your phone staff, that clean these things more often. It's quicker, easier, cheaper, and it won't get to the point where we have to start using nuclear chemicals and destroying the coatings.